So when we are adding and subtracting radicals, they have to be like terms in order for you guys to be able to combine them, to add them, to subtract them, whatever it might be. So for radicals, this means having the same radical, the same index, the same number under the root. It has to be exactly the same. If they aren't the same, then you have to simply simplify each individual one in the expression and then add or subtract them together. So you'll add or subtract the outside values, but keep the radical the same. For instance, to give you a better idea, you guys would know, hopefully, that you could add 3x plus 5x. How many x's would that be? 8. But you couldn't add 3x plus 5y because they're not alike. Well, the same idea goes for radicals. You could add 3 square root 2 plus 5 square root 2 and say, how many square root 2's do you have? 7. But you could not add, say, 3 square root 2 plus 5 square root 6. When you're multiplying, yes, you just do outside, outside, inside, inside. But not when you're adding and subtracting. The radicals have to be exactly the same. So in this first example, we're going to simplify both of them. And then when you're done, the idea is that they should be the same and then be ready for you to add and subtract them. So the square root of 45 is going to be 9 times 5, plus 4, the square root of 20, is going to be 4 times 5. So really what's going to happen is you should have a perfect square, and then that number remaining should be the same. So we've got 3 square root 5 plus the square root of 4 is 2. So 4 on the outside times 2 is 8. So how many square root 5's do we have? 11. So when adding and subtracting, you have to simplify them first. Then they should be the same for you to be able to add or subtract them. And then let's look at the other one. 45, 500, and 320. So 45, again, is going to be 9 times 5. 500 is going to be 100 times 5. So again, when we're trying to figure out what perfect square divides into 320, it's probably going to be 5 and something, since you've already used 5 in the other two terms. So 5 and what? If you divide 320 by 5, 64. So we end up with, take the square root of 964, 3 square root 5 plus 10 square root 5 minus 8. And again, you just add the numbers in the front. So what is 3 plus 10 minus 8? That's how many square root 5's you have left. So 3 plus 10 is 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. So we have 5 square root 5's. And again, we went from something much larger to something much smaller. When you get your answer, you can check it in the calculator. Put the original expression you were given in the calculator, get that decimal value, then put what you came up with as your answer in the calculator and see that the decimal values are the same. And you can always check your answer or your work that way. But when we ask for answers, they need to be in radical form, no decimals here.